I slept with my black sheep roommate, and now he hates me. My vision was hazy, and I could feel my head throbbing with pain, but I can still see the man above me, heaving and groaning as I sway underneath him. I don't really know how I ended up like this, and the only thing I remember was I was apologizing and bowing my head repeatedly in front of the headmaster. I apologize, headmaster. Don't fret, I'll do something about it. I shut my eyes as my head remained down. I gazed from the corner of my eyes as the man beside me, Mikhail Rogers. He had that bad boy look written all over him. His jet black disheveled hair and good physique made him look like a fictional character came out of a book. The cuts and bruises he had added to that factor. He was sitting there as if he's the only person in this room. In my opinion, he would be one of the most handsome men in our university if only he would make himself a good student. We're in the headmaster's office now. I don't know why I'm being scolded for a mistake I didn't even make. Mikhail Rogers is the reason behind all of this. I heard the headmaster groan. Mr. Rogers, you're already a university student. Why don't you try to act like one? The headmaster tried his best to remain calm, yet he was unable to hide his red face from us. You're going out of school premises just to beat up some guys, are you? The headmaster took a sharp, deep breath through his nose, refraining himself from cursing the said student. Mr. Hennings, the headmaster shifted his gaze on me while chewing the bottom of his lip, from annoyance, and said, Mr. Tyler, I want you to do something about it. You're the university students' president, and you have that burden on your shoulder to make sure that the students here are on the best behavior 24/7. But sir, I can't handle them all 24/7. Not everyone this time, just this black sheep, he snarled at Mikhail. But the black sheep student only let out a laugh. Do you really think that the president could handle me? His sharp eyes darted at me, frustrated and now afraid ones. 5 baseball players couldn't even handle me, he smirked at my direction. That was a mere statement, but it was like a threat to me. The last retort finally snapped Mr. Henning's patience. You think you're all cool beating up other students from other universities, huh? He hollered, slamming his fists on the table, making me flinch from the sound. But it feels like Mikhail's smirk only widened. What's funny now, you punk? Nothing. Mr. Henning slumped his back against the backrest of the swivel chair as he combed his receding hair. He was tapping his forefinger on the table while looking back and forth at us. A few deep breaths had passed until his finger finally stopped drumming on the desk. The headmaster's furrowed brow suddenly raised in amusement, as if a bright idea had appeared on his head. I have an idea, Mr. Tyler. You said you can't handle this man 24/7, but I know you can. I sighed in defeat. I know what he wanted was impossible. Watching someone 24/7 means I got to be by their side all the time, which is out of bounds and clearly impossible. But I don't have the patience to argue anymore. My strength for the day was already gone. I was about to answer him with a simple yes sir when Mr. Henning spoke again. I'm assigning you to your new roommate. He nodded, his head to Mikhail's direction. What? Mikhail and I yelled simultaneously, before looking at each other and then back to the headmaster, who had this satisfied smile on his face. He only raised his brows as if telling us anything we said would be nothing against his decision. Still, both of us were retorting, but he wasn't listening to us and just ordered us to leave him like that and head to their respected classroom. I took a deep breath as I exited the room, but I felt strange sensation crawl down my spine, and when I looked behind me, I saw Mikhail glaring daggers. I know that from now on, my life will be ruined. After that tiring day at the university, I headed to my apartment and saw boxes in front of my door, yet no one was there. I groaned as I remembered that I would be sharing my room with the worst roommate ever. Great, just great. I rolled my eyes and got my keys through the hole. May I live peacefully, I mumbled. I opened the door and walked past the boxes and closed it again, not even bothering to take those boxes inside. I knew I should be the role model of a student, but my patience had limits too. I was so frustrated that I needed to shower immediately. I let the water calm my nerves, and though it didn't do much, it still brought me a piece of tranquility. After I took a shower, I grabbed a drink, specifically a beer. I know it's illegal to have alcohol on school premises, but being student council president had its own perks. I gulped down the bittersweet drink, drinking my disappointment away. I don't really know how many cans I already drank, but I continued it until I felt the booze getting its effect on me. My vision began to get blurry, and my body heated up. I tried to stand up, but everything was spinning. Did I drink too much? I grumbled as I put my arm over my eyes, hoping that the weight would help me clear my vision. I don't have the strength to stand up, so I decided to lie down on my sofa and forget about everything. I was about to doze off when I heard voices from outside my dorm. I wanted to look at it, but I didn't have the strength to go on anymore, so I just let it be. Maybe that was just a cat chasing Jerry. I was relaxed at the moment until my door swung open and the man barged into my room. My whole being was awakened. Despite my hazy vision and throbbing head, I managed to recognize my new roommate, Mikhail. "Oh, it's just you," I mumbled in spite of my drowsiness. "Are you hungry? I can make you something to eat," I said, trying to be as polite as possible. But I didn't hear about him, so I just decided to make him instant noodles. I was pouring hot water on the cup when I saw him trotting towards me. His shirt was drenched, sticking to his body. I felt my heart skipped a bit as I let my eyes wander on his body, but I immediately shook my head. I can't let it slip. "The shower was there. That's your room on the other side," I said. I was so engrossed in pouring the hot water that I didn't realize Mikhail had already approached me. "Do you have a boyfriend?" he suddenly blurted out, which caught me off guard. "Huh? I don't have." "What are you trying to do?" I blushed. "Change your clothes now, please." And I returned my attention to my chore. And the only time I noticed him was when he was already behind me with his mouth close to my ear. His breath was hot. "I don't need noodles," he breathed out on my nape. "I need a cutie like you." He let out a breathy chuckle. Before I knew it, he turned me around so I was facing him, and then he slammed his lips on mine. I was shocked at first, but soon gave in as I felt my rising need. I can't deny that he's good at kissing. The sensation made me want him more, and I knew that he was wanting it too as he put his hands beneath my shirt, caressing my skin. My vision was hazy and I could feel my head throbbing with pain, but I could still see the man above me, heaving and groaning as I sway underneath him. But his sensation was so pleasurable, I didn't want to stop. In the morning, I was awoken by a force that shoved me off my bed, making me drop to the floor, face first. "What the hell? What are you doing in my bed?" an angry voice of a man hollered. My head was still hurting, yet my anger got the best of me. "What? You're in my bed." I tried to stand up and argue, but my knees buckled under me, resulting in me dropping back on the floor. Our eyes met and realization hit us both like a ton of bricks. "We did it last night." "You..." He growled at me while clenching his chiseled jaw. He was beyond furious. "Don't blame me, you're the one who jumped me last night," I yelled. "I'm drunk, and so am I." We darted our eyes away from each other as we couldn't face each other right now. It was humiliating. No one spoke between us as we got ready for school. At school, we're not in the same class, so I had to visit Mikhail from time to time. Even though this would throw him off the edge, I still had to do it since it's my task given to me by the headmaster. "Are you stalking me?" he groaned as he saw me entering the bathroom. "Can't I use the comfort room for comfort?" I snapped back at him. If he's not in the mood, then so am I. I was about to open the door to one of the cubicles when a force pinned me to the wooden door. The impact made a loud sound, louder than my hiss of pain. "What are you doing?" I groaned as he pinned my hands beside my head, gripping it tight. I wanted to push him away, but he's much stronger than me. And now that we're this close, I can see our height difference. "Don't act cocky now, Allan Tyler," he said, his keen eyes peering at me like a hungry lion. "Don't you ever think that you have the upper hand." Just like that, he pushed me inside the cubicle and slammed the door in my face. I didn't even bother to look for him because I knew he was already gone, so I just proceeded to relieve myself. However, after I got out of the booth, I saw vandals all over the bathroom's walls and mirrors. What the heck? I know this is Mikhail's fault, so I tried to find him, but I didn't see him. He's really getting on my nerves. After school, I returned to my dorm and waited patiently for my roommate. This time, he will not escape from me. I will confront him. Yet it was already 2 a.m., and he wasn't here. My anger was gradually subsiding and being replaced by concern, until my door opened, birthing a soiled Mikhail. My concern flew out the window as I saw him. "How did you do that?" I asked. "Do what?" "Don't play dumb, you vandalized the comfort room." He answered none and proceeded to turn his back on me. "Why do you always do this? Can't you be a good student for once?" I barely finished my sentence when he slammed the door to his room, which made me rub my head aggressively. I thought that was the last trouble he would cause, but I was wrong. I read the multiple reports of students seeing Mikhail vandalize the gymnasium and even the library, and the worst thing I read was that he put a dead cat on the headmaster's table. That was just some of his new propaganda added to his list of shenanigans. I pinched my nose as I worked on my table at the student council office, but a voice of my colleague interrupted my concentration. "President Allan," it said, "the headmaster wants to see you now." I was at a loss for words, so the only thing I could do for now was nod with a smile, but deep down, I'm so mad. At the headmaster's office, I can see Mr. Henning behind his desk, fuming. "Sir," I stammered awkwardly, trotting to stand in front of him. "You need something from me?" "Mr. Tyler." The way Mr. Hennings called me felt like I was spitting daggers on my throat. He's going to scold me again. I don't think you're doing your job. If you don't fulfill your duty, your scholarship would be revoked, he said without beating the bush. I was taken aback by what he said. My scholarship was everything to me. I need that. Please, sir, not my scholarship, I begged. Then do something. My eardrum almost burst out from how loud he was. I returned to my dorm, deafened, and saw Mikhail sitting on the sofa while watching a drama and eating a snack, crumbs falling on the floor. I sat down on the rag beside him with my head hanging low. Could you stop messing around? My scholarship would be revoked if you don't stop. Please, I said in a monotonous, tired voice. Why is it my business? He nonchalantly replied before gulping his drink. I'm tired of our everyday arguing, and my strength is already drained. I looked up at him with my tired eyes. I don't really know what I look like right now. Please, I'd do anything. Just stop being a brat, I said, just barely above a whisper. I saw him pause his chewing before his lips curled into a wicked smile. Really? Yes, just stop messing around. Then do all my pending work. I haven't submitted schoolwork, he said, and all of my soon-to-be work. But I can't do that. It's your responsibility. You said anything, right? That was my worst mistake. Just like he promised, he began behaving, but I began to double my effort for school, since I'm literally working for 2 people. I don't really know if this really solved my problem or just added another one. I was in the middle of working on Mikhail's project when my phone rang. I looked at my ID caller and saw it was Dad. I subconsciously smiled as I answered it. Hey Dad, how are you? Go home this instant. That was the only thing I heard from the other line. My father was sweet and kind, but when he's angry, his words became limited. Like right now. And as the saying goes, a kind man is the worst when angry. I was confused because I didn't know what the reason behind all that anger was. I was thinking that maybe it was my elder sister since she's literally the same breed as Mikhail, the black sheep. At the end of the week, I immediately went home as my father requested, but when I returned home, I wasn't greeted by a warm hug that my mom usually gives me. Instead, with a forceful slap. I was thrown to the ground by the force. Dad? I stammered as I held my aching cheek. What's wrong? Cut the crap, Allan, he yelled at me while harshly pointing his finger at me. Don't you think I wouldn't know that you're sleeping around with guys in your school? His voice was booming, and his kind eyes were now filled with disdain and fury. I couldn't answer, but my scared eyes shifted to my sister, who was holding her phone. My eyes widened when she flashed a photo in front of me, where Mikhail was on top of me. Why? I whispered. It was a mistake. It was not what you think it is. I tried to explain myself, but another slap stopped me. I have no gay son. Get out of here. I don't want to see your face anymore. My father pulled me up by the collar, and I will not hesitate to break your bones if you step on this house ever again. He dropped me on the ground and walked away. My mother was about to help me, but she was held back by my dad, who said, "One more thing. Forget about the fact that you once had a father." He yanked my mother inside her home, and my sister mouthed adios before closing the door. I was left there with a numbing pain. I returned to my apartment and saw Mikhail eating my stuck noodles. Hey, there's another assignment I put on your desk. It's due next week. Yeah, I mumbled as I went to my own room. I tried to forget everything, but the pain on my cheeks never ceased to make me remember. I shook my head and drowned myself in the work I was going to do. I let myself do all the homework and projects for 2 people on my own. But despite all my efforts to finish it all, I wasn't able to complete it. I wasn't able to finish Mikhail's schoolwork on time. For the 3rd time, I was called to the office. I'm now used to Mr. Henning's red face. Mr. Tyler, I can't see any improvement in Mikhail's grades. We're still planking. I've had high hopes for you, but you failed me. I have no choice but to pull you out of the dean's list and remove your scholarship. It felt like his words rang in my head. He's improving. I'm seeing it every day, I defended Mikhail. Headmaster, please. I can't. I need that. You can remove me from the dean's list, but not my scholarship, I begged. My voice was hoarse, but he shook his head and said, "My decision is final." It was all too heavy for me, to the point where I could feel my body was giving up. I went to bed and took a nap, hoping it would be gone when I woke up. The alarm I set went on, and I was about to do my things when a hand pushed me down the bed. Don't get up. You're as hot as a hot pot. Mikhail had his hand over my forehead. What? I mumbled. I felt the room breeze freezing, so I realized that I do have a fever. Stay there. I'll get you some porridge. Mikhail got out of my room. I was quite confused about why he was acting like that, but my mind was too cloudy to think anything, so I just closed my eyes. I was once awakened again with a hand caressed my cheek and said, "Get up now and eat this. After that, drink your medicine." I tried the porridge and immediately felt relieved. I didn't know I was that hungry. After I ate, and drank my medicine, he lifted me from my bed. "What are you doing?" I shrieked weakly. "Bath." No, I tried to get off his arms, but I was too weak for him, and before I knew it, I was drenched. The warm water still felt freezing. He tried to take my clothes off, but I pushed him away, which made him groan. "Stop thrashing around, will ya? You're boiling hot. You need to take a quick shower. Don't be such a brat. I've seen all of that." My face suddenly heated up as I remembered our first night together. I looked at Mikhail and our eyes met, but this time his eyes held some tenderness and concern for me. In the whole period of time where I was sick, Mikhail nursed me back to health, and I didn't really know if it was me, but I think he lost his mind after that. Because there are times when he walks around naked with nothing but his towel, as if flaunting his muscular body to me. He even started to cook and wash dishes. And the most peculiar thing was that he started to study and do his own schoolwork. Right now, we are in our dorm room, since we had a storm going on, so our class was cancelled. I started to work on my assignment, and he sat beside me. "Are you sure you're not sick?" I asked as I scrutinized his focus form. He had his glasses on. I didn't know that he was nearsighted until he wore it to read. "No." I was staring at him. I don't know why, but now that I think about it, he's really handsome. I searched to the bottom of my memories to see when I first noticed this virile appearance, and it all went back to our freshman year. I've liked him since we were first-year students, and that was 2 years ago. I didn't know I had a smile on my lips until Mikhail spoke. "Stop undressing me with your eyes, will ya?" "I am not," I retorted back with a tint of red on my cheeks, to which he chuckled. "Geez, he's really attractive, but his personality was the worst." The doorbell suddenly rang, so I used it as an excuse to get away from him. I opened the door and I was stunned by what I saw. Was my mom? "What are you doing here?" A strong punch sent me crawling to the floor with a bleeding nose. My father punched me after he pushed my mother out of his way. I tried to get away as she hugged my father to stop him from entering my dorm. "What the heck are you doing? Your dean called me and said you were removed from the dean's list, and now you have no scholarship?" His voice was so loud that some of our neighbors began to watch this. But what I didn't expect was that my own sister was taking video of our scene. "Han, please let our son be," my mother cried as she hugged him, shading me from his wrath. "This is it. This is all your fault. It's because you're sleeping around." His eyes turned to Mikhail, who had just gotten out to see the commotion. "I'm sending you to a military school now." He grabbed me by my hair and dragged me to the ground. I cried for him to let me go, but it was all futile. My mom even kneeled in front of him to shield me from his anger, begging for me. Out of nowhere, a hand grabbed my father's wrist, making him stop in his tracks. "Sir, stop it." A tender voice spoke. "Even if your son was indeed gay, there's nothing wrong about it." I looked up only to see my roommate. This is the first time I heard Mikhail speak formally. "Did he ever hurt you or anyone in your family?" "I don't think so. Every day he's striving to be a better person. And he's the most admirable student I've ever seen. Give him another chance and his scholarship would be renewed." "I'll take up that deal," my father grunted as he looked straight into Mikhail's eyes. "If he manages to get his place on the dean's list and his scholarship, then I would think about transferring to another school." "Yes, sir." And just like that, they left us alone. Mikhail took the first aid kit in the kitchen and went to treat my wounds. I remained silent. There was a pang of curiosity in me. "Why did you do that?" I asked in a meek voice. But instead of a straight answer, I received another question. "Why didn't you tell me?" I scoffed at him and said, "It's like you ever care about someone." "You don't understand," he replied in a weak voice. "What is it that I don't understand? I can see it in my own eyes. You don't even care about anyone. All you think about is yourself, so don't expect me to tell you anything about my life," I berated him. I don't want to rebuke his concern, but maybe my exasperation got to my head, so my mouth ran like that. I was about to say something more when I was cut off. "I love you, okay?" he said with a firm stare. His eyes steeled on me. Is that enough explanation? I couldn't answer. Was he joking? "All the rudeness I've thrown at you was because I couldn't admit to myself that I've been liking you for a long time," he started to explain. "I'm just afraid that if I let you in, I'll be the laughingstock for being gay." My mouth was agape. He just confessed, right? "You don't have to answer," he mumbled while looking away from me. I couldn't help but let out a smile as I saw him blush. "You're annoying," I told him, which made him cutely pout. "But I don't see why we can't give this a chance." His pouting face suddenly lit up. He looked at me and let out the first toothy grin I saw from him. We started to work hard with our studies, and he helped me with my student president duties so I could have more time to study, and I also helped him with his projects. There was a time he even attended a national conference as my proxy, because I was studying for my finals. Yet despite all our efforts, I wasn't able to achieve the highest rank. What? Only a 0.01 difference? Mikhail yelled frustratedly as he glared at the dashboard of our class ranking. But I was amazed that he ranked number 7 in our class. He really could do it if he put effort into it. It's fine, I told him with a smile. I couldn't help but feel happy as he got more emotional for my rank than himself. What are you going to do now? You're going to be transferred to the military academy, he said gloomily. Maybe, I replied truthfully. I don't want to transfer to another school. I'm happy here with Mikhail. I let my eyes wander to his disappointed figure. My mind became filled with our memories together. He's amazing. He could decide on his own. He even had the courage to confess to me, even if his dignity was on the line. He was the captain of his own ship. I took a deep breath and gave him a grin. But before that, I need to do something. I went home with Mikhail by my side. He was really confused about it at first, but he still went with me. We stood at the gate of our house and told him, "Don't squeak, okay?" I joked. "Please, 5 baseball players couldn't even handle me," he scoffed. It reminded me of our first interaction. I rang the doorbell and my mom answered me. She was so happy to see me, but scared as well. But even though she was afraid of my father's wrath, she still let me in, for her love for me was greater than her fear. "What is this crap doing here?" I heard my father hiss as I entered the living area, with my elder sister watching TV. "Mom, Dad, I came second in my class." That's the first thing I blurted out. I don't know if they would enlist me back into the dean's list and grant me another scholarship, but I want you to know that I'm happy. What? They all looked at me as if they had grown another head. I love you, and both of you know that. I would throw myself to catch a bullet for you, but this time, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to choose myself. If you don't want me, that's fine, but still, you will always be my family. I smiled. It was a genuine smile. Cheryl, I forgive you. I know you don't mean any harm, but the harm has already been done. I saw her dart her eyes across the floor. She may look like she's angry and doesn't care all the time, but I knew her for a long time. Right now, she was ashamed of herself. But I still love her. She was the first person who stood up against my bullies when I was still in elementary school. I am who I am, and I won't be sorry for that, I added. And one more thing. I held Mikhail's hand in front of them. Dad, remember the time you told me you choose to be with Mom? Now I'm choosing to be with Mikhail. It may sound weird to you, but this must be the same love you fought for before. Oh dear, my mom hugged me with tears cascading from her eyes. I will always love you. We do. Thank you, Mom. I love you too. I looked at my dad and saw him looking at me. Dad, I mumbled. I was expecting a deathly glare from him, but all I saw was a bead of tears in his eyes. Come eat. Your mom prepared dinner for us, he said before looking at Mikhail, and it's good for 5 people. I almost cried when I heard him. My father was sweet, but he was not a worldly man. He had a different way of saying I love you. Thank you, Dad, I muttered. Yeah, thank you, Dad. Mikhail bowed, his head out of respect. But who told you you could call me Dad? My father scolded Mikhail, which made him flinch, but soon erupted with a genuine laugh. He then pulled him into a solid tight hug, patting his back in the process. I don't mind another son. The dinner was the best dinner of my life. The first semester of our curriculum had ended, and now we were taking our Christmas vacation, which is the same month of my birthday. Dad, I'll be off now, I yelled as I closed the gate of our home. Okay, be careful. Tell me if that crap hurt you. I'll shoot him in the head, he yelled back, which made me laugh. He had accepted my relationship with Mikhail, but he's still as protective as ever. A real dad indeed. I was on my way to a place where Mikhail told me to meet him. He wasn't able to fetch me from home, since he's busy setting up his birthday present for me. I chuckled at the thought that it wouldn't be a surprise anymore, but still, I can't wait to see that. When I met him to the place, I saw him on a big bike. He looked like an action star. Where did you get that bike? I asked in amazement. I just bought now, so I wasn't able to get to you. He put on a helmet on my head. But at least I'll be able to take you home safely. Are you ready? Is this not the surprise? What are you saying? This is not. This is mine, not yours. I cackled. I hopped on the big bike and we rode somewhere I don't know. We were riding so fast that it feels like I'm flying, but it all ended when Mikhail suddenly stopped on the side of the road. Where are we? I asked. We're here. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're a tall tree over the highest point of the low hill standing in the middle of a grassy ground, and under it was a cloth with a basket and some pillows. I don't really know what you like, but based on my observation while we were living together is you like quiet and relaxing place and happy birthday, Mikhail muttered shyly. I love it, I breathed out. Thank you, Mikhail. I tiptoed and gave him a kiss on the cheek and pulled him so we could sit now. We spent our time together chatting, singing, sharing our dreams and hopes. It was so peaceful. I felt my heart swell with happiness that I didn't notice it was already dark. The night was filled with shining stars above us. I don't want this day to end, but just like any other book, this day is near to closing. I was about to ask him to go home until he spoke. Allan Tyler, he called me so softly. I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, but this is what I want. And I hope that you want too, he mumbled the last part, which I barely even hear. What? My gosh, I cupped my hands as my mouth saw him kneel in front of me with a box on his palm. He opened it up and I saw a simple yet stunning ring on it. Allan, he started off as if being nervous. You're the man I want to spend my life with. He took my hand and put a ring on my finger. I promise to love you until the last breath, and from this moment and now on, I will be by your side. Mikhail, my eyes started to well as I heard his words. My heart was leaping with joy. I couldn't contain my happiness, so I lunged forward to give him a passionate kiss before pulling away and said, I love you too, and I promise to stay by your side as long as you want me to. And once again, he pulled me into a loving kiss. Before I closed my eyes to cherish this moment, I saw a shooting star across the sky. I am Allan Tyler, and the Student Council President officially engaged with the university's troublemaker, Mikhail Rogers. The end. Have you ever had the courage to fight for something/someone you love? If so, let us know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.